The story of Lot and his wife is found in the book of Genesis in the Old Testament of the Bible. It begins with Lot, who was the nephew of the patriarch Abraham. At one point, Abraham and Lot were both living in the land of Canaan, but their herds and flocks had grown too large to sustain them together. To avoid conflicts between their herdsmen, Abraham generously offered Lot the first choice of where to settle. Lot chose to move to the fertile plains of the Jordan Valley, specifically to the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, which were known for their wickedness and immoral practices. This decision would have significant consequences for Lot and his family. As time passed, the evil of Sodom and Gomorrah reached extreme levels, provoking God's anger. In response, God decided to destroy these cities due to their wickedness. However, before doing so, he sent two angels in the form of men to Sodom to warn Lot of the impending destruction and to rescue him and his family. When the angels arrived in Sodom, Lot was sitting at the city gate, a place where respected men would gather. Lot, recognizing that these were not ordinary men, offered them hospitality and insisted they stay in his home. The angels accepted Lot's invitation and spent the night at his house. That evening, the men of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded Lot's house and demanded that the two visitors be brought out so they could sexually assault them. The wickedness of the city was on full display, and Lot was in a difficult position. In an attempt to protect his guests, he offered his own daughters to the mob, which reveals the morally corrupt environment of the city. The angels intervened, striking the crowd with blindness, and warned Lot once again of the impending destruction of the city. They urged him to gather his family and flee to the mountains for safety. Though hesitant, Lot and his family left the city at dawn, guided by the angels. As they fled, the angels warned Lot's family not to look back. However, Lot's wife, as they were escaping, couldn't resist the temptation to look back at the city. In doing so, she was immediately turned into a pillar of salt as a consequence of her disobedience and attachment to the sinful city. Lot and his two daughters continued their journey and eventually settled in a cave in the mountains. There, his daughters, believing that they were the last people left on earth, decided to get their father drunk and have sexual relations with him in the hope of continuing their family line. As a result of these actions, Lot fathered two sons, Moab and Ammon, who would become the ancestors of the Moabites and Ammonites, two tribes known throughout biblical history. The story of Lot and his wife serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of living in wickedness and disobeying God's commands. It also underscores the importance of following God faithfully and trusting in His guidance. The story of Lot and his wife has several relevant applications for today's world. Avoiding moral compromise. The story highlights the danger of compromising one's moral values and principles to fit in with a corrupt or immoral society. It reminds us to stand firm in our beliefs and not be swayed by societal pressures or temptations. Fleeing from sin. When God warned Lot of the impending destruction of Sodom, He instructed him to flee to safety. Similarly, in our lives, we should be vigilant in recognizing and avoiding sinful behaviors or environments that could lead us astray. Prioritizing family. The story emphasizes the importance of family unity and protection. Lot's hesitancy to leave Sodom put his family at risk. Today, we can apply this by making choices that prioritize the well-being and spiritual growth of our families. Trusting God's guidance. Lot's journey to safety was guided by the angels. Likewise, in our lives, we should seek God's guidance through prayer and study of His Word, trusting that He will lead us in the right direction. Resisting temptations. Lot's wife's decision to look back at the sinful city resulted in severe consequences. This reminds us of the importance of resisting temptations that may lead us away from God's path. Seeking refuge in God. The mountains where Lot and his daughters found safety can symbolize seeking refuge in God during difficult times. In today's world, when facing challenges or uncertainties, we can turn to God for strength, comfort, and guidance. Impact of choices. The story shows how our choices can have far-reaching consequences not only for ourselves but also for future generations. Our actions and decisions today can shape the legacy we leave behind. Discerning God's warning signs. Just as God sent angels to warn Lot of the impending judgment, we should be attentive to God's warning signs and promptings in our lives, especially when we are veering away from His will. Rejecting a worldly mindset. Sodom represented a society driven by selfishness, immorality, and disregard for others. Today, the story encourages us to reject a worldly mindset and instead embrace a life centered on love, compassion, and service to others. Learning from past mistakes. The story of Lot's family teaches us the value of learning from past mistakes and turning away from harmful patterns or behaviors. We can strive to grow and make positive changes in our lives, guided by God's grace and forgiveness. Overall, the story of Lot and his wife provides timeless lessons about faith, obedience, and the consequences of our choices. By applying these principles to our lives today, we can draw closer to God and live in a way that honors Him in our actions and attitudes.